What's good? It's your boy 2K here. Shout out to the movement and everybody who's moving with us. For this one, it's gonna be a what's hot. And what's hot right now? Keithan, Gregory, Josephine, Thurman. Y'all thought I forgot the name I created for him since I ain't used it in a while, right? I'll never forget that shit, man. I'll never forget Miss Josephine Thurman. He recently vacated his WBC crown earlier today, citing the fact that he's been injured too much since winning the WBC crown off of Danny Garcia last year, right? Now, of course, within that fight, he sustained an elbow injury that he ended up having to get surgery on that put him on the sidelines for the rest of 2017. Then he came back, said he was good beginning of this year, had a fight scheduled for April against Jesse Vargas, pulled out of that fight. Then he scheduled a fight against the big bad TBA motherfucker, right, for May 19th. Then he pulls out of that fight, citing a hand injury, right? Now, I guess he vacated because he didn't want the WBC on his ass. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, they would have came out possibly and said, hey, we about to mandate this fight against Danny Garcia, right? Danny Garcia overtook Shawn Porter in the WBC rankings after he defeated Brandon Rios. So they would have came in and said, hey, we mandating this Danny Garcia fight, dog. And I guess Keith Thurman didn't want to go out like that of getting stripped because he couldn't fight Danny Garcia in a mandated title defense. Now, the thing is with me, the WBC isn't that strict. You know what I'm saying? They not like the IBF and Daryl Peoples. Them niggas don't fucking play over there. You know what I'm saying? If they got a guy in a mandatory position or the #1 contender and they've already mandated that and you ain't fighting that cat, they stripping niggas, dog. See, the IBF is like the cats that be lying in wait for them tourists that be walking through the hood at midnight. You know what I'm saying? Run up on them, rob them, and strip them. That's what the IBF be doing to their champions and shit, dog, if they don't fight their mandatories. Real talk. But the WBC is more lenient. They're not as strict. What they'll do is, especially in the situation of an injury, they'll say, hey, we'll put you as a champion in recess, which basically gives you more time to sit out and doesn't put you in violation of the policies that the WBC has, in which the time frame is you have to defend your title, right? They just give you more time. But I guess he didn't want that. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of cats are saying, yeah, nigga, you know what I'm saying? He vacated the motherfucking WC belt because your nigga ducking Errol Spence. Yo, Errol Spence ain't even ranked in the top 15 in the WBC rankings, yo. How the fuck is he vacating the WBC title but keeping the WBA title, right, to duck Errol Spence? It makes no fucking sense. He can still do a unification bout with Errol Spence with the WBA title, right? So that's not the reason why he dropped it. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, man, Keith Thurman, he's on some other shit. Nobody can really foresee what the fuck Keith Thurman is thinking right now, man. You know, part of him is scared as shit of Errol Spence. Then part of him is halfway out of boxing. Y'all saw the interview. I can't remember what fight it was, but him and Errol Spence were being interviewed and shit at the panel. And motherfucker pretty much admitted that he don't have a heart no more. He don't have that drive, that hunger. You know what I'm saying? You know, nobody knows what's in the mind of Keith Thurman right now, dog. I really don't believe he wants to fight anymore. I think he's already achieved what he feels like he's achieved. Now, of course, there's been some rumblings about him still gonna fight pretty much late summer, early fall. That'll put you in July, early August, right? He's talking about coming back then now. But I don't know, man. I just feel like I said, just based on how he's been acting, the things that he said about not having the drive or determination that he used to have, not having that will, I don't think he really wants to fight anymore. You know what I'm saying? All he had to do was rematch Danny Garcia, a fight that, you know, he was winning easily until he gave up his distance, stopped boxing and started sitting in the pocket, giving Danny Garcia opportunities. But when he wasn't doing that, when he was actually boxing, he was winning the fight pretty easily, right? Now, the Shawn Porter fight, that was a more difficult fight for him. You know, he won by split decision, but a lot of cats out there thought he lost that fight. Maybe he don't want that smoke no more. I don't know, man. It's hard to determine what Keith Thurman is really thinking. The only thing that we can do is pretty much wait and see what his actions tell us. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. If he comes back, you know, late July, early August, it'll definitely be a tune-up. It'll be against a Joe Blow motherfucker, you know, Matt Damon. You know what I'm saying? The motherfucker we don't know. He'll be in the ring with him as a tune-up. I mean, I guess maybe when he beats that tune-up, he'll have a different lease on boxing, right? How he feels about being a champion. Now, the WBC, they've mandated that Danny Garcia, who's the #1 challenger for the WBC title, fight Shawn Porter, the #2 challenger, right? And that's standard. That's what they do. They basically say, hey, we're going to mandate #1 fight #2. That's normally how they do it. So that fight is on the horizon. That's an excellent fight. It's a 50-50 fight. A lot of people think Shawn Porter wins. A lot of people think Danny Garcia wins. One thing I will say is this. Shawn Porter's style plays directly into Danny Garcia's hands. He likes the pressure, or he likes you to be right there so he can unleash his counterpunching, right? That's what he does. So I'm not going to say who I think wins that fight, but that's just one glaring thing for me. And also understand Shawn Porter is very susceptible to the check left hook, and that's one of Danny Garcia's best punches. So those are two things that jump out to me about that matchup, man, that I believe playing Danny Garcia's favor. But in no way am I saying Danny Garcia wins that fight. But it's a decent matchup. This definitely shakes up the welterweight division, him vacating the WBC title. It's going to be interesting to see where this motherfucker goes, man. But this nigga needs to put his mind back on boxing ASAP. Real talk. Next. And it's only going to be a 2-segment one. Fuck it. Dillian Whyte versus Luis Ortiz has been ordered, again, by the WBC as a title eliminator bout to see who's going to be the mandatory for Deontay Wilder. Now, neither parties have accepted up to this point of me doing this video whether or not they want to fight each other. But if this fight goes down, I'm predicting a rematch. I see Luis Ortiz running right through Dillian Whyte, you know what I'm saying? Remember, Luis Ortiz is beating the shit out of Deontay Wilder, you know, minus the fact that he got knocked down, I believe, in the 5th round, and then, of course, ultimately knocked out in the 10th round. But other than those 2 rounds, he was literally beating Deontay Wilder pretty handily, right? Even in the 7th round, he had Deontay Wilder in trouble to the point where in other fights and in different circumstances where there wasn't a belt holder, Deontay Wilder would have been stopped. The referee would have jumped in. But in this case, they gave the benefit of the doubt to the champion, and they didn't stop the fight, right? And then ultimately, Deontay Wilder, with his will, heart, and determination, he was able to get the 10-round KO. Now, looking at that, looking at Dillian Whyte, I've never been high on Dillian Whyte. I don't think he's a very skilled heavyweight at all. Even with him defeating the fat-ass, you know, off-peds Lucas Brown just recently, I still don't think he's a good heavyweight. I don't think he's a great fighter, man. Luis Ortiz is one of the better heavyweights, even though he was knocked out by Deontay Wilder. His performance is pretty much speaks for itself, right? He's still one of the better heavyweights in the division. I think he runs right through Dillian Whyte if his head is correctly on his shoulders after that KO loss, right? If he goes into the ring not losing anything mentally, I think he runs right through Dillian Whyte. And that'll set up a rematch with Deontay Wilder. Now, shout out to my man Abu. He hit me up earlier and he asked me, basically with the WBC mandating this particular eliminator, does this effectively tell us that the Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua negotiations are going well? And I said, for me, it shows the opposite. I believe that the negotiations are not going well, hence why the WBC jumped out there and said, fuck it, we about to mandate a mandatory challenger for Deontay Wilder's fight in the future. Possibly not his next fight, but the fight after his next fight, right? Deontay Wilder will probably want to fight sometime in September, and that will be like on, you know, the main event for a fight like this or something like that. It could possibly be on the same card since they're fighting as the mandatory challenger for him. Now, I think this fight was mandated because the WBC is looking into the future. Like, they might know something about these negotiations. So I think eventually what's going to happen here is negotiations are going to fall through. Hence why the WBC is jumping the gun on this this title eliminator, right? They need to find an opponent for Deontay Wilder at the end of this year. So I think that's what it is, man. But if it does go down, both fighters agree to this shit, they end up getting in the ring, I see Luis Ortiz running through him. We're going to see a fucking Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz rematch probably at the end of this year, beginning of next year. That's just my prediction. I'm not saying I'm 100% correct. That's just what I got out of this particular mandation by the WBC. All right? YouTube, do what you do in the comment section. Let me know what you think about these topics. It would be real. This is real talk for real fans. One.